skull, shutting its gaping beak, and unbalancing a teetering pile of books. He shoved the books back before they could fall, which knocked the stone pedestal behind it over. He sat down heavily, defeated. The bowl, only a little chipped, took its sweet time rolling in a spiral, the sound of stone on stone wobbling finally to a halt. There was a long silence. Someone knocked again. "My lord!" The voice was scratchy, accented as if the words didn't quite fit right in the owner's mouth. "Need firefighting team?" Oh, he probably should try to put out all those little fires before something bigger caught. But letting in the team would reveal their lord was not here, and then they would want to know who he was, and then a great number of very uncomfortable questions he did not have answers to would result. What would this lord of theirs sound like? Evil, clearly. He tried to make his voice sound deeper. Keep it short. "Everything's fine." He looked around frantically. Not much in the way of firefighting equipment in the room. A black table hosted glassware, or at least it used to. He hoped it wasn't a problem that half of the potion flasks had shattered, and that a blue liquid was oozing out of a cracked alembic. The way the work table sizzled suggested it might be, but none of the remaining bottles seemed likely to contain water. Fortunately, most of the fires were on the tiny side. "Need help, my lord?" Very persistent, very commendable, possibly suicidal. The owner of the voice clearly put duty ahead of self-preservation. He grabbed a thick sheaf of papers and set to beating the little flames to death. "No!" He knocked over a broken bottle, which crashed onto the floor in a spectacular spray of glass shards. A whiff of purple smoke escaped, as the contents rapidly dried into a powdery residue. "My lord!" The handle of the door jiggled. His voice rose to a crack. "Stay out!" There was no way they would fail to notice he wasn't their master. But it was too late to come up with a better plan. "You'll, disrupt the spell." The jiggling immediately stopped. "Sorry, my lord." The voice had its own note of panic now. "Leave me alone." There, another fire out. The hem of his robe had been eaten away to a lacy texture by that splash. "Yes, my lord." He would have savoured the sound of retreating footsteps, but he was too busy putting out the owl wing that had caught alight. Not until he'd extinguished the last of the fires did it occur to him that the sheaf of papers might have been valuable in and of itself, and perhaps reducing the bottom several pages to charred ruins had been unwise. He collapsed in the massive wooden chair in the corner to catch his breath. It was a monster of a thing, a dark wood nightmare that had to weigh a ton. Sultry carved women peered through hair that barely hid their nakedness. One licked an apple in her hand with a long forked tongue. He stared at it, fascinated and vaguely disgusted, and all too distracted from the real issues he needed to be considering. So, this was shock. It seemed terribly inconvenient that the brain's reaction to being placed in mortal jeopardy was to become much stupider. Focus. Who was he? He was dressed in black velvet, which fell all the way to the floor except for the new holes. Expensive. Soft shoes. Nothing meant for tromping around outside. A belt made of small silver panels linked together, which felt rather like it had been made several years' worth of beer and cake earlier. The sleeves were a lost cause, shredded and singed, the remnants trailing impractically. It all gave him a rather sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach.